Life is precious. But for some, life can't continue without the generosity of others.
Hello. Without the blood and blood products, I wouldn't be alive.
It takes hope,
We just broke down into tears. We didn't really want to let each other go.
courage,
Oh my God, this is really happening for him. So you get really scared because, you know, they might not survive.
and the whole community.
They tell me I have saved the lives of 2.4 million babies.
People that donate blood, they're superheroes.
Feels good doing it, really.
I survived.
I can breathe.
It makes our job so rewarding that you can see what the blood and the blood products can do for someone.
I'm so grateful to be healthy that I squish as much as I can into every day.
We go behind the scenes with Australian Red Cross Lifeblood to share the heartwarming stories of giving life. Now on Giving Life, an impossible situation for a mother of 4.
If we left the baby in too long, we'd lose me. But if we didn't leave it in long enough, we'd lose my baby.
Actress Chloe Bayliss shares her extraordinary story.
You can't tell me that I'm never going to dance again.
And the Lifeblood milkshake makers making a difference.
Every week we ask the donors who's the best. It's usually me.
Oh, excuse me.
This one.
Let's see how they sit.
After having 3 children, Nathan and Rachel Taufer decided they wanted a 4th to complete their family. Little did they know, it would be a bittersweet journey.
Nathan and I found out that we were expecting our 4th baby in September of 2015. We were really excited. We knew that this would be our last baby because we'd planned on 4. The week after we found out, we saw our obstetrician and he did a scan and confirmed that we were pregnant and that everything looked great and we'd see him in a couple more weeks. At 7 weeks gestation, I was home with Bethany, Amelia and Patrick. I needed to go to the bathroom, so I went, and when I looked down, I realised I was having a really big bleed. I went and saw my obstetrician. Nathan and I assumed the worst and thought that it was over, but he did an internal ultrasound and he found a heartbeat. Then our obstetrician said, we need to find out why you're bleeding. So he kept scanning and he found what's called a subclonic hematoma in the uterus, and it was sitting right next to our baby. So it then became a threatened pregnancy, and our obstetrician said I needed to go onto strict bed rest at home, and hopefully our baby would outgrow the hematoma. At around the 12-week mark, my obstetrician lifted my bed rest restrictions slightly. I went to buy dance shoes with my mum for my girls, and when it was time to pay, I stood up and I felt like someone had hit me over the back of the head with a baseball bat. Everything just went black and then it started spinning, and then I got cramps and I just thought, oh God, I'm gonna lose my baby now, this is it. Before I knew it, I was being rushed upstairs and placed in a bed and told, if you're losing your baby, you need to let go. But you can't tell a mum to let go.
No time, we've got to get everyone to eat one. Make sure the secret judges get them. You're not one, are you?
Let it be a secret. It's gone.
27-year-old Chloe Bayliss, star of television series Dr. Doctor, started her performing career as a dancer.
My mum put me into classes when I was 3 and I didn't want to leave. I, at 14 years of age, was very determined to make dance my career.
As you turn, remember that toe chasse there? She was so self-motivated. She'd hang off every word that every teacher would give her and just loved movement, loved dance, and had that look in her eye that I want this. Better, better.
I lived in the dance studio. I would get up at 5:30 in the morning and I'd train in until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I trained at the National College of Dance in Newcastle. The actual diploma is equivalent to like the HSC.
And breathe the music, show me your beautiful faces here.
When I was 17, I was almost finished my diploma and I had been accepted into the Washington Ballet pre-professional year. So everything was ready to go and my career was about to start basically. And in August, on the 25th of August in 2008, I became extremely ill and I ended up going to the hospital in emergency. I had an allergic reaction to a drug that I was given to stop vomiting, and my whole right side of my face and neck and jaw was paralysed. When they did all the tests, they said I had kidney failure, so they had to rush me in and put all the Vascath and all of those things, the ports in my neck to have dialysis. I was devastated because everything had to be cancelled and I was told to put my life on hold for the moment to try to get better, and that's the first time I had ever stopped in my dancing life. It was really, really difficult to hear that.
When Chloe became ill, my prayers turned from getting her back into the classroom to seriously just living.
You can't tell me that I'm never going to dance again. That's my dream. That's everything I've worked towards.
Across Australia, there are over 100 Lifeblood donor centres, relying on 29,000 donations per week to help keep people alive. The Lifeblood refreshment area is always a popular hub. After every donation, donors are rewarded with a milkshake. Running things today are Cheryl and Therese.
Caramel. Every week we ask the donors, yes, who's the best? It's usually me.
Oh, excuse me. Cheryl just thinks she's the best.
Yeah.
And not only do they volunteer, they also donate blood and plasma.
I'm happy to donate every 2 weeks because I've got good veins, so my blood tends to flow, or the plasma flows fairly easily, so it doesn't take me long at all. My mother was quite ill and she had people that donated to her and gave blood to her. So I thought it was one way that I could give back. Every time I donate, I sit on that chair and I think of her, and it's a satisfaction for me to be able to donate. Yeah, I feel quite privileged.
The reason I started donating was probably because of Cheryl and her mum. Yeah, have just continued on since then.
And the ladies have turned milkshake making into a fine art.
The milkshakes are the favourites here, and we don't only just do like the plain flavours, we do combinations of. There's one called the Mars bar, which is caramel and chocolate, and you know, they can have malt or they can have lactose-free, and we try to cater for everybody.
We appreciate everyone that comes in because their blood and their plasma, it saves lives.
It's been a traumatic pregnancy for mum of 3, Rachel Taufer. She's been diagnosed with a subchorionic hematoma, which is a pooling of blood between the membrane around the baby and the uterine wall. She has just had a second massive bleed.
I thought there must be something wrong with my baby, but again, there was a tiny heartbeat. After the big bleed at around 12 weeks, I was back on bed rest at home. And on the day of the 19-week scan, I started to bleed a little bit heavier. And I called up and they agreed to see us sooner. But when he started to scan, all we could see was like this crisscross pattern across my uterus. And I started to panic because I couldn't see our baby. The look on his face, we just knew something was wrong. I cried so much that he had to stop scanning. But with everything turning so sour, I wanted something positive to cling to. So I said, tell me the sex of my baby. And he did a quick scan up, said it's a girl, and then went back to scanning the placenta. The placenta had kind of enlarged and engulfed my uterus and had become an accretor.
Placenta accreta is a condition where the placenta, which should sit on the surface of the muscle of the uterus, grows in through the muscle and in severe cases can grow through into the bladder. It can be very dangerous and we need a very good surgical team, Lifeblood and ICU backup.
My obstetrician told me I would need a hysterectomy at birth to save my own life. I was only 31. The thought of losing my uterus and knowing that it was now a threat to my own life was terrifying. At 21 weeks, woke up in the middle of the night and went to the bathroom, and when I looked down, it was just red. It was a massive bleed, bigger than the others. The paramedics came and they took me to Westmead. I was on a bed with a midwife holding my hand saying, "Your baby's too small to be saved. If she's born now, we'll place her on your husband's chest until she takes her final breath and we'll try and save your life."
After 4 months of dialysis treatment, Chloe Bayliss's dream of becoming a ballet dancer is all but over.
When I finally tried to get out of bed, they had to push me around in a wheelchair because I had no muscles, everything was gone. I was 34 kilos. By my third admission into hospital, the doctors were saying that I really have to think about the possibility of having a kidney transplant. But I was lucky in that after 4 or 5 months, my kidneys opened up just a little bit, which is extremely rare for them to kick back into gear again. And I was able to come off dialysis.
Chloe's luck is short-lived.
Initially, they diagnosed me with kidney disease and then this blood disease called thrombotic thrombocytopenic purpura-hemolytic uremic syndrome, or TTP-HUS, which 4 in a million people get. And it was my blood kind of destroying itself and clotting, and I required blood transfusions and plasma donations, and I was at the hospital 3 times a week with 12 bags a week for 2 years.
That's the gift of life from over 1,000 donors.
But they still didn't have answers for why all of this was happening because things didn't quite match up. My muscles and my joints were still incredibly sore, and they had to give me a lot of drugs to try and deal with that. Initially, they thought it was an infection, but that wasn't the case. And so it took a year and they diagnosed me with lupus, which is an autoimmune disease. And it's where your immune system gets confused and basically turns against itself. And so for me, that attacked my kidneys and attacked my blood, my muscles and my joints. And to treat lupus, you have to suppress your immune system because your own immune system is overactive. Long term, that's my life now, is that I have all these medications to deal with that. I had to stay at home for almost a year, I would say. And my doctors advised me not to be around big crowds and things like that. So I spent a lot of time in isolation at home. After a year, I tried to rehabilitate myself at home. Sometimes it was in secret because my mum would freak out because she was like, you know, "Don't do anything, Chloe, you've got to stay well." But I just had this drive to get back into the studio, and all I wanted to do was finish my diploma. And I was starting from the beginning. I had nothing. I couldn't even get up off the ground after a grand plie.
"46-year-old Andrew Garvin has struggled with chronic illness all his life. But with best friend Apollo by his side, he's determined not to let it get the better of him.
He looks like a miniature lassie, and he's a good doorbell, a good vacuum cleaner, and he's a good companion. When I was born, I was smaller than everyone else. I still am. And I was constantly in and out of hospital a lot. So it was kind of, apart from being the youngest and spoilt anyway, I was kind of even had more attention because of the constant hospitalisations. Yeah, it's an attention-seeking behaviour. I have about 2% of vision. I'm legally blind. When I was 7, I was diagnosed with hypogammaglobulinemia anemia, which is an immune deficiency.
People with these immunodeficiencies, like Andrew, can get recurrent, persistent infections unless you replace the immunoglobulin.
Andrew receives a product called immunoglobulin, which is a human-derived donation product. It's part of the plasma, and it helps to boost your immunity. And it's a life-saving product. Donating blood is helping people out there live with chronic conditions, and it's enabling them to sustain a quality of life in the community, saving them from being stuck in a hospital bed.
Holly. I really appreciate people who do donate blood because without their donations, I would not be able to do what I do and have the quality of life that I have. Holly, come here. Come here, look.
After her third hemorrhage, Rachel Taufer is now in Sydney's Westmead Hospital, but her baby is only 22 weeks gestation.
Every night Nathan came in and he'd shower me, he'd dress me, he'd put me back in bed.
It's an agonising wait for the couple.
In New South Wales, a baby isn't considered viable until 24 weeks, and I'd been tallying the days. Unbeknownst to us, the placenta was actually now growing through my uterus, seeking out a larger blood supply. It was looking to attach to whatever surrounding organs it could. So the pregnancy was very much on a knife's edge the whole time. If we left the baby in too long, we'd lose me. But if we didn't leave it in long enough, we'd lose my baby.
Then, on October 25th, there's good news.
At 25 weeks, my baby had her first good trace on the CTG monitor. One of the midwives said, this baby's for resuscitation. The doctors would try to save her. On the Sunday, I had really bad backache, and the trace was put on and revealed that I was in labour. I was in incredible pain. And then I heard one of the doctors call out, she's septic. And very quickly my bed went into motion and they were pushing us down towards the theatre. I looked up to Nathan and I said, I love you. Promise you'll tell my kids I love them every day. I thought it might have been easier to not wake up, because if I did wake up, I could wake up to the worst news of my life, that she hadn't made it.
While being treated for kidney failure and lupus, tenacious Chloe Bayliss takes charge of her life.
So I was still sick because I was having treatment, but I wanted to dance.
When Chloe first started back in training, there was many challenges, not just that she had to wear the permacath to class.
So I'd wear leotards that would try to cover it up and everything.
Her muscles had wasted. And with her determination, little by little, every muscle re-strengthened.
I eventually finished my Diploma of Dance and Performance. In 2010, when my permacaths all came out, I was accepted into a pre-professional school in Connecticut in USA, and I desperately wanted to go. I just had to go because this was my one chance to do what I was trying to do 2 years prior. Stepping out onto the stage for that first night was amazing. I just never thought I would be able to get back there and to be there on stage doing what I love after everything I had been through. And it was all my dreams come true, really. So I'm in remission for the blood disease, and with the lupus, it's never going to go away. You just control it. I'm just so incredibly grateful to Lifeblood and all the donors that donate, because I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for them. It's wonderful. Thank you for saving my life.
31-year-old Rachel Taufer has gone into labour at 25 weeks. She and her baby are both fighting for their lives.
My next memory is waking up in ICU, and I remember trying to touch my belly and thinking it's empty. I was drifting in and out of sleep or consciousness, but at one stage I remember opening my eyes and seeing a blurry blue figure off to the right. I realised it was my obstetrician, and he said to me, "You're lucky to be alive. We thought we'd lost you." And then he said, "Rachel, I've seen your baby. She's beautiful." About a week after Estelle was born, my husband took me in a wheelchair to see her in NICU. When they lifted the covers, I could see these tiny little legs and they were kicking out, and those were the movements that I felt when she was inside me. The nurses opened a portal and I put my hand through and she grabbed onto my finger. It was just beautiful. But the moment she hit my chest, it was just euphoric. Estelle spent 12 weeks in the NICU. The hurdles that she faced were tremendous. She did have 2 transfusions while she was in the NICU, and I never realised babies needed blood or blood products. It's hard to fathom that looking at her now, she's overcome so much. Do you want? Okay, I've got you. Move your arm across. Oops. Ah, so strong. I was told that the entire time I was in theatre, there was someone on the phone to Lifeblood ordering blood and blood products. We're incredibly grateful because without the blood and blood products, I wouldn't be alive. My husband would be a widower, but instead we're a happy, healthy family of 6.
Next time on Giving Life. An afternoon stroll changes 2 lives forever.
I heard her yell and looked around and saw the snake, which was about 4 feet long.
Surgery with blood products gives hope to an advanced cancer patient.
If you have cancer and you don't chop it out, it just keeps growing.
And a date night with a difference.
So I'm here with my husband today, and if we can be lucky enough to sit next to each other, great. If not, we'll talk to each other across the room.